Welcome back. Border Patrol agents arresting an illegal migrant from Lebanon near El Paso, Texas last week. The New York Post is now reporting that the man admitted to being a member of the Hezbollah terrorist group. He told border agents that he was hoping to make a bomb and head for New York City. Foreign drone incursions, meanwhile, are surging at the U.S.-Mexico border. These are coming from foreign countries, their drones near our border. Here's what Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton told me yesterday on Sunday Morning Futures about that.
I'm not surprised that this is going on now, that they're sending drones across is no surprise. And it's no surprise that Joe Biden is not going to do anything about it. He has lots of authority. He isn't using it. He's doing just the opposite. He's aiding and abetting the cartels to get more people here for his own political purposes.
Joining me now to talk more about all of this is Texas Congresswoman Beth Van Duyne. She is the chairwoman of the Oversight Investigations and Regulations Committee and a member of the Small Business and House Ways and Means Committees. Congresswoman, good to see you again. Thanks very much for joining us this morning. Your reaction to all of this, you've got this guy from Lebanon saying that he's a member of the Hezbollah terrorist group. Why isn't that enough for Joe Biden to actually use the power of the pen in an executive order and get Remain in Mexico back in place?
Look, he has known for years that this is a problem. When we have seen a Venezuelan parolee come in and kill Laken Riley, a 22-year-old nursing student in Georgia, when we've got a Haitian immigrant who has a parole, again, another parolee from his parole program come in and is now accused of raping a 15-year-old disabled girl. He's known for years that his policies are an issue. He continues to do them. In fact, not only has he taken off tools from the table that were working, such as the Remain in Mexico policy, but he is now actively flying 30,000 immigrants in from countries like Haiti, Cuba, Venezuela, Nicaragua, into our country, taxpayer expenses, in releasing them. We are seeing crimes increase. The president's blaming Republicans and saying that we need to pass a bill for him to be able to act, even though his executive orders have led to what we have seen, the carnage, the disgrace at the border. But if he wants to have a bill and he wants to have the tools, we've already given it to him. House Republicans passed H.R. 2, our Secure the Border Act of 2023. If he was really concerned about securing our borders, call up Chuck Schumer. Have your Democrats actually pass that bill out of the Senate, and you, Mr. President, sign it. But the fact is that that's not what this is about.
Well, it's just incredible to me. Who would put America in such a vulnerable position to have wide open borders and certain people coming from certain locations that are threatening America, like this guy saying he's about to make a bomb and come to New York? I mean, is it all about this administration's grasp at staying in power, this desperate attempt to stay in power? Because I'm wondering if they're just going to use all these people to try to get them to vote in the upcoming election. Let's not forget, the jig is up on what this means, the open border for Democrats. Senate Democrats voting to count illegal immigrants in the census last week, impacting House seats, Electoral College. So is this a sign, a signal that, yeah, this is about illegals coming in here, voting Democrat, and keeping these folks in power? If they're doing this for the census, both Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton and Wyoming Senator John Barrasso told me about the census impact yesterday on Sunday Morning Futures. Watch this.
Well, 94 executive orders to allow illegal immigrants easier access to the United States. He's surrendered the border. And a lot of it has to do with the fact of the census. Joe Biden and the Democrats want all the illegal immigrants counted in the census, Maria. And here's why. The census is used to calculate out congressional seats, how many seats each state gets, as well as the members of the Electoral College, how many Electoral College votes each state gets.
He's willing to trade the safety of America, whether it's terrorism, whether it's drugs, whether it's other crimes. He's willing to, he being Joe Biden, willing to trade all of that to get more Democratic votes so that they can control Congress and they can control the presidency.
Congressman, is that what you believe as well? Because it's having an impact on the census, right?
Well, it's not. We don't even have to think about what they're saying. We don't even have to interpret it. We just have to listen to it. You've got a Democrat member in New York, Yvette Clarke, who's actually said this, that we need to have an increase in population, whether or not it's legal or illegal immigrants, in order for her to keep her congressional district seat. Because what we saw is states like California, states like New York, were losing population. And when we look at the census, that's exactly how they determine how many congressional districts they get. They were losing seats to states like Florida and Texas. So yes, this is all about increasing the population in those blue states so they increase their congressional districts so that they maintain power. And the unfortunate part is they're not looking at the murders. They're not looking at the increase in crime. They're not looking at the hundreds of people who've come in from the terrorist watch list into our country. They are not looking at the next possible 9/11 that's going to happen within our borders as a direct result of them allowing illegal immigration, 11 million people in the last 3.5 years under the Biden administration into our country. That they're not concerned about the damage. They're concerned about power.
Yeah. Liz Peek, this is stunning. This is just stunning to me. You put and you leave America in such a vulnerable position so that you can get more congressional Democrat seats in the Senate and the House, and you get bigger numbers because the census is counting illegals?
Yeah, Maria, when President Trump was in office, he tried to put a citizenship question on the census, and it was bashed by everybody. It never happened. But I actually think, Congresswoman, day one, this is something that Donald Trump should address when he is elected president this coming fall, because it isn't just electoral seats and so forth. You are basically rewarding these states that put up tremendous incentives that attract illegal immigrants, like California, which has 2.5 million people who are not supposed to be in our country living there. They have done it intentionally, as has New York, again, to maintain their power. But it's not just congressional representation. It's also hundreds of billions of dollars of federal aid that is apportioned depending on population. So we have got to reverse the incentives here that make these states so eager to welcome illegals with sanctuary status, et cetera. What do you think of that?
You're absolutely right. Look, I used to be a mayor, and I fought illegal immigration in my city. I had a great relationship with Immigration and Customs Enforcement. At one point in time, we actually had more illegal criminal aliens deported from my city than any other city per capita in the country. As a result, our crime rate dropped. We became the 5th safest city in the country. Working with the federal government and law enforcement and actually enforcing our laws is important. I served on the board of the U.S. Conference of Mayors with a number of mayors across the country that claimed sanctuary city status. Well, you're getting it now, but instead of these mayors who are complaining about the number of illegals coming into their city, instead of them asking for policy changes, what you're seeing them ask for is more federal dollars. So you're absolutely correct. This is not about keeping their citizens safe. This is not about, protecting American lives. This is all about power, and this is all about money. And they have the tools to be able to do it. The Democrats are fighting it, and we now know why.
Let me switch gears, Congresswoman, and ask you about what House Speaker Mike Johnson has promised to apply every amount of pressure on senators to pass the TikTok bill. The bill demanding that ByteDance divest from TikTok within 6 months, making a ban likely. Congresswoman, what are you expecting from the TikTok situation in the Senate? Because you all passed it in the House, but I just was talking with Wyoming Senator John Barrasso, who said he's not expecting it even to come to the floor this week.
Yeah, and look, we passed it out of the House overwhelmingly, and there's a reason why. When you think about this app that's been downloaded 210 million times, when 2 out of 3 Americans have used it, and an average user uses it 9 hours a week. This is where we're looking at the political propaganda and the ability to gather data on our citizens and where that information is going directly to CCP in China. We look at the aggressive algorithms that are being created by this app and how they're perpetuating people using it, and that's where they're getting their data. That's where they're getting their mindset. It is targeting our youth. This is a problem. This is a threat. This is not about a ban on private corporations. What this is saying that you have to divest from being controlled by the CCP to gather information. This is a spy surveillance tool directly into the heart of America. And I would really hope that the Senate looks at this, that they listen to the intelligence community, and then they take action.
Well, we'll see about that. Congressman, it's good to see you this morning. Thank you.